Welcome to the Living an Awakened Life section of the Awareness podcast. I'm your host, Susan Telford, and I'm here today with Shakti Caterina Maggi. Welcome, Shakti. It's lovely to see you.
Hi, Susan and everybody.
Shakti Caterina Maggi is a contemporary spiritual teacher who holds retreats and seminars worldwide. She shares a message of non-separation between all beings, pointing how global awakening can happen through embodying compassion and deep understanding in our everyday life. Shakti has contributed to the anthology on the mystery of being, which was published in 2019 by New Harbinger. It's lovely to have you here, Shakti. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's always lovely to be hosted by you guys, and happy to meet new people today.
Yeah. So your bio says that you share a message of non-separation between all beings. What does that mean? What does non-separation mean, and what is your teaching?
Well, we give for granted all our life to be a person, an entity, either that is the body mind, or if we are a little more spiritual, that is inside the body mind, but that we are, something separated from life and from one another. And we live under this assumption our everyday life. And although we might not be aware of it, this very conviction is at the core of our suffering, of our fears, of our psychological conflicts. What I offer to people in a very simple, direct, and experiential way is the recognition that the core of our essence is not separated from life and is not separated from one another. So on the surface, I'm Shakti, you're Susan, everybody has their name, their story, their individual characteristics. But the core of our essence, the base of what we call our consciousness, is one and the same with the source of creation and with all there is. It's a recognition of oneness, of the essence of our being. The consequence of this recognition are huge. We are afraid of one another. We are afraid of life. We behave in a way that is under conflictual basis towards people because we feel separated from one another. This is not an idea, a concept. It's not that you decide that we are one and you change your way of thinking. It's a radical, real change in perspective. It's a new perception of ourself and the world, in the understanding that what we meet in our everyday, our life, day by day, it's not separated from our consciousness, it's one with us. And the way in which we behave with people and in the world is something that affects our life because we are all one. So this recognition came in my life when I was 27. I thought I was intuiting a greater reality in me since I was a child, with many spiritual experiences that I had since I was really 7, 8. But this more clear recognition, that is called in the East spiritual awakening, happened in 2003 when I was 27. So now 20 years ago. It has been a very strong shift in my life that brought a radical change in my way of looking at the world, looking at myself. An energetic, physical, psychological, all-encompassing transformation happened in the years after this waking up. And I was invited by my teacher because just before this awakening, a few days before this awakening, I met the teacher. The process of awakening had already started before, but the meeting with him kind of crystallized that moment. And I was invited to share. So I started to share almost 20 years ago, although for many years, I also left space for this integration of awakening to come on me. So I became more of a public teacher around 2011. And since then, I met really thousands of people around the world, in Italy, where I'm based, but also in Europe, in Canada. I have many, many students in the United States. I have a nice community there. And my work has been the one to allow people, both people that are newcomers into spirituality. Some of my students never done anything, but they intuit another possibility, another reality in their life that could be coming. Others are instead experienced, let's say, seasoned seekers of all tradition. Some come from yoga, some come from Buddhist tradition, some from Christianity. Really, the kind of people that come into my teaching is very broad, and any age. It's very beautiful for me to have very young people coming, as well as people in their 60s or 70s. The essence of what I teach is recognizable in the tradition of Advaita Vedanta, that means not two. It's one of the most ancient and revered spiritual tradition in India, the pinnacle really of the Vedanta, and also of non-dual Tantra, because my work is also very perceptual, very embodied. It's not theoretical. So these two traditions, non-dual Tantra and Advaita, could be easily recognized in my work. I have been very moved and influenced also by the Ho'oponopono tradition, in the sense that I speak a lot of compassion. I speak a lot of the possibility to meditate the world around us through a new position in ourselves, to be able to recognize how anything that is around us is being one with us can be transformed in our heart, and our way to contemplate the manifestation have an influence on reality itself. So I don't know if I said it too much, and you can stop me and maybe we can go in details, but really what I teach to people, what I try to offer is a new perspective on themselves, something that is not a philosophy, something that is a real seeing that can change their everyday life in a very practical way.
Thank you. What I wanted to pick up on was you said work with newcomers as well as more seasoned seekers. And I'm thinking that, there may be many people listening to us right in this moment who are relatively new to a non-dual pathway. And, rather than talk about it, I really like to invite teachers to offer a direct experience, both to me and to the listeners, of what it is you teach. So, I just really love to invite you to do that, Shakti.
Sure. Well, I think anybody that is listening to this, they might be watching this image, or they might be listening just the audio. In this moment, they're having an experience. It's an experience made of sound, of words that are said. Is an experience that is physical. They may be sitting somewhere, maybe driving the car, or, I don't know, doing chores around the house. So their experience is perceptual. There is sound for sure, because there is a voice talking. There is a physical experience. And there is something in you that is witnessing this experience. If it's possible for you to close your eyes, it might be more easy. If it's not possible for you in this moment to close your eyes, anyway, be conscious that there is something in you right now that is witnessing this voice, something in you that is aware of this voice talking, something in you that is aware of this body sitting, So if it's possible for you to close your eyes, it's going to be a bit easier. Otherwise, leave your eyes open. But become conscious of this presence in you that knows that there is this moment. Sound, body, any experience that you call your environment, something in you is aware of this. This presence in you that is aware of this moment stays. The experience changes. My voice say different things. Your breathing, your physical experience changes. Notice that. But the awareness in you that is conscious of this moment doesn't change. It's the same. It's permanently the same. It's silent in itself. It's aware. It's peaceful. Is now. Is the here and now. Is eternal. Time passes by, but you, this awareness, you are what is aware of the time that is passing by. So this essential part of you, I call it awareness, and is what is aware of your mind. It is what is aware of your body. It is what is aware of the world, and is the very same one in you, in me, in everybody. Not everybody might be aware of it, but the very core of our experience as awareness is this for each and every one of us. That's where we are one. Second thing I would like you to notice is that you can keep on being aware of my voice, for instance, or of your physical experience, sitting, walking, driving, is that this part that is witnessing and what is appearing, the sound of my voice, any mental activity, the physical experience, the world around you, all this is happening inside this consciousness, this awareness. Check. Your mind might think, I am in my body, or my body is in me, is me. Yeah. But look, as this awareness that is witnessing the physical experience, the body is an experience that is happening in you. You're not happening in the body. Check. The body is a sensation that is happening in you as awareness. Same thing with the mind. Mind is made of two things, thoughts and feelings. Is an inner experience. I'm not happening inside my mind. I'm not the character that the mind is talking about. I am the awareness that is witnessing the mind. So the body-mind is something that is happening inside this fundamental part of me, awareness. Let's check now with what we call the external world. My voice is, your mind would say, external. I'm talking from my living room in Italy, and you're listening this conversation from wherever you are in the world, might be United States or elsewhere. You're listening this conversation as an experience in you. The awareness that is conscious of this voice is happening inside your consciousness. It's a sound that you're perceiving in you. You can think is away, you can think the voice is away, or is inside my computer or my radio or whatever, my cell phone. But your inner perceptual experience is that this voice is happening in you. The same is for any sound that is around you. It can be the sound of birds or traffic or environment in general. Any noise or sound is happening in your consciousness. It's not something that you have to think about. It's something to be experienced. So what I'm trying to suggest is that this awareness that is silent, is aware, is peaceful, and is always present because it stays when changes happen, and is the one and the same for each and every one of us. This awareness is the container of this experience called yourself and life. And that this awareness defies time and space, age, history, different cultures. Has nothing to do with our native language or story. Is pure consciousness and is the background of all there is. Awakening, what I call spiritual awakening, is waking up to this reality of our true being and living from this moment by moment. So not just a sudden recognition, but a permanent, steady, day by day, moment by moment recognition. The consequences of these are huge in our life, and we can discuss them if you want. But I hope that this little taste can have been a little pinpoint for people to understand what we're talking about. It's not a theory. It's something that virtually any human being can experience, provided that they have the interest of looking what is that is aware in them.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A point that I want to pick up on, which is not so immediately experiential, I feel, is that the awareness here is the same awareness.
Yeah.
As everyone. Yeah.
Okay. So if I look in my direct experience, I can recognize that the awareness that is looking at the experience that I can call Shakti is this awareness that is aware in me has no quality whatsoever. In the sense that I can see my body as female, I can see as my body of middle age, I can see my body as short, for instance, with dark hairs and fair skin. And this is something that is objective. Yeah. The I in me, the awareness in me is looking at this. I can see my memories. I can see the story of this form. But what in me is aware of these things has no quality by which it can be recognized. Now, when I recognize that I am the container of this experience, that I am the I that is behind what I call my inner reality and my outer one, because why I say brackets, because, you know, when we look from awareness, there is no inner and outer at that point. So the I in me that is witnessing this very moment is not in the moment, is the container of the moment. Therefore, is also the container of any other being that appears. So it's not something that can be understood, it's something that can be seen. I cannot induce this recognition in people. I can only invite them, yeah? But if you become aware in this moment of you as awareness, yeah, you can see that the experience called Shakti and the experience called Susan are both happening in you as awareness. Now, if you ask me, this is my very same experience. That's where we are one. You're not one as Susan and Shakti, that are two different beings with different talents and characteristics and individuality. Thanks God, it's beautiful that as forms we are all different. It would be very boring if it would be all the same. But, you know, as the core of my essence, I'm one with you. This has to be seen. It cannot be understood. But I would invite who is listening first of all, to recognize where they are in respect to manifestation. So where they are in respect of their mind and their body and manifestation. If they see that they are this awareness that doesn't change, that is the background of this experience, then the rest will come by itself.
Yeah, thank
you.
Thank you. You also spoke about once there has been a recognition, then a period of integration follows. Can you speak more about that? Because we've all heard the stories or, read the books of sudden awakenings. And often it can appear as though that's it. Someone wakes up, everything's different, and there's nothing further to do. So speak a little bit about that, please.
It's not like that at all. It's not like that at all. And thank you for asking, because this gives so much misunderstandings.
Yeah.
So the first moment of recognition that maybe some people had now when we were speaking, maybe it's just the beginning, and it's not awakening. It can be a moment, in which we intuit another reality that is transcendental, that is beyond our usual everyday life. I call spiritual awakening a steady living from this reality. Otherwise, it's what is called a satori, or a glimpse, but not a real awakening. So this, I hope, creates some clarity, because many people say, oh, I had many awakenings, No, you had many spiritual experiences, probably very profound, but you didn't have many awakenings. You either are awake to your reality as awareness, or you are asleep and you think to be a person. But even when you have this steady recognition, so it's not something that is coming and going, or it happens only when you meditate, or it happens only when you do a practice, but it's your everyday life. That's not it. That's the beginning of your true spiritual life, because our true spiritual life is about deconstructing all the illusion of the personality that was created until that very moment. So if I see I am awareness, does it mean that I don't suffer anymore? Does it mean that I don't get reactive towards people or life anymore? Does it mean that from one day to another I behave as a Buddha? Not at all. It means that I have the opportunity to have another perspective on life, and all those tendencies, all those that is called in India karmic impressions that are in me, that probably I bring from life to life in my reality, all my egoic conundrums of my personalities can finally be seen clearly from awareness. I might see that I look for recognition from people. I might see that I look for affection from people because I don't feel to be lovable. I can see that I am afraid of judgments, or I judge a lot. I can see jealousy in me. I can see competition in me, and so on, many things. I can see many different kinds of addictions, for instance, trying to feel a sense of luck in myself through, I don't know, sexuality, substances, food, work, internet, there might be many, many foldings of the personality that at that point I become more clear about it. Because until that very moment, when I was identified with the personality, I couldn't see the personality very well because I was here. I couldn't see it. I did not have enough distance. So it's very important that we understand that awakening is a process that is finalized in what in India, the Indian tradition is very refined and detailed in this, calls moksha, or final liberation. What does it mean? Moksha, or final liberation, is when all the karma, all impression of me as a separate entity is completely dissolved. When this idea to be a person at the center of the personality that does things independently from life is completely deleted. It's something that asks years to happen after awakening. Yeah. So we shouldn't be discouraged by this thing, say, oh my God, it's too, it's already waking up seems too complicated. And, like then I have to do years of integration, like, oh, I don't want to know about it. It's not like this. First of all, awakening is not that complicated in the sense that if you have enough interest and dedication, it's not that complicated, in my experience at least, to recognize, not mentally, but perceptually, what we really are. And then you need to be courageous, honest, sincere, dedicated to say, okay, am I living my everyday life from the truth of what I am or from a lie? Am I perpetuating ideas of myself that seems to make me feel safe, or I am living a life that is authentic? You see, many people approach spirituality not because they are strictly interested in the transcendental truth, but because simply they suffer. Yeah, they suffer the relationship, they suffer their life, they suffer their work, family life of any sort, and they try to find peace. They're trying to find a solution. So what has been offered is the possibility to find the true reason of why we suffer. That is the sense of separation. If I feel I'm separated from you, I'm afraid of you. If I like you, I'm afraid you might dislike me or leave me. If I don't like you, I'm afraid you might do something against me. What happens if I see you are me at the core? Yeah, even just intellectually, what does it happen? I'm open to see how you are. I'm open to see maybe the wounds in me that come up when I relate with you. I might see that you are an opportunity for me to heal those wounds and to change my inner life and therefore my outer one. No real change in my life can happen if I remain the same. We cannot ask to life to change if you remain the same, because you and life are one. So if your way of seeing yourself is old, your life will remain the same. If you want to change your life towards more freedom, peace, and loving compassion, it's necessary that you put under discussion the way in which you see yourself. This is easy to say, but sometimes harder to do, because it means to really rediscuss a lot of things that we give for granted, a lot of things that maybe seems to make us feeling safe. Yeah. So it's a process of rediscussion, not intellectual, but perceptual, emotional. It's a deep alchemical transformation that is necessary after awakening. So what I teach to people is A, to recognize what they are, and B, how to integrate it in their life. That's what I bring to people.
And how important is a teacher at that point?
To be honest with you, primordial. Absolutely important. Because you see, when you are wandering in the darkness, a word of wisdom can shed some light, yeah, and can help you to find a new direction. But once you are in a process of awakening, the living presence of a teacher is very important to keep you on track. And of course, you can find inspiration in many teachers. And I invite people really to be curious and to be exposed, to different teachings. Although I also have to say to you now, after 20 years of experience, that sometimes if you have found a teacher that really is integrating your awakening, stay long enough to be disturbed, because otherwise what happens, you can hop, supermarket around different things, and without wanting, you avoid what you should, go through. So I am a big fan of listening everybody and being exposed to different, teachings that are maybe contributing to our clarity. But when we are at the very core of the process of integration, If you found somebody that your heart says is reliable, stick to it for a while, because otherwise you might go away before you're ready. It's harder to, it's not a law. It's hard to say. I cannot say to people when is the right moment to stay with the teacher or to go, because it's the personal choice. And, it might be that they don't like the teaching and because it's not good for them, or it might be that they don't like the teaching because it's the ego that is fighting. I cannot say. It's your sincerity that is saying. But I want to say, a teacher is important. And in my own experience, if you stay some years with somebody, then you do a more solid job. Because really, this is something that asks time. And also another thing that might be useful for people listening, you don't choose your teachers. Looks like you choose your teacher, but really you end up with them and they end up with you. It's both ways. You maneuvered by life to meet and to meet something in you. Yeah.
The more and more I go on in this path, Shakti, the more I think we don't choose anything.
We don't choose anything in reality, but we have to come to see this, like maybe it's easy for me and you, because we are on this path since many years, to say we don't decide anything. But when we are, at the beginning of our path, it doesn't look like that. But yes, ultimately what we realize that is, it's all a conspiration of love of the universe. And all the universe is conspiring lovingly for us to wake up. And this conspiration, it's not external. It's our true self that wakes up and does anything that is needed, calling the right teacher, apparently the wrong teachers, the wrong or apparently wrong or right people. Anybody in your life is contributing towards your spiritual awakening. People that you like, people you don't like, unfortunate things, lucky strike, all that is contributing to your waking up. But this is something you understand as you go along the road. At the beginning, it looks like you have to choose. Yeah. And with what do you choose? You can choose with your mind. You can choose what is convenient, or you can choose what feels right in your heart. And maybe it's challenging for your mind.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to discuss with you is, again, from your bio, it said that you point to how global awakening can happen through embodying compassion and deep understanding in our everyday life. So the first question is, do you think that global awakening is a possibility, is the end game?
Yes, absolutely. It's not me saying it, is the Vedas are saying it, but yes, absolutely. Global awakening, what does it mean? It means these recognition happenings, not in few rare, apparently gifted people, but through every being. And if we look in our little lifespan, because our experience is so short, right, Susan? Like, mine is 46 years experience, your, maybe a little more, I don't know, but more or less, like this kind of experience, we years. Are, so these, never ask a lady age, but, like I can see it's 20 years that I teach. Yeah. In these 20 years, when I woke up in 2003, very few people were awakened. And it was a rare thing. And saying you were awakened was almost blasphemy. Oh, you're awakened, you're so young, you didn't do this and that, you just wake up like that, how is possible? Nowadays, it's endemic, it's infectious. So many people that have been having a spiritual past and people that never done anything before in their life, they all seems to feel this call within and wake up. This is interesting. This means something. It means that we are going towards a new direction that moves us from the idea to be a person, the idea to be a separate entity, towards a new way of seeing life. This new way of seeing life is appearing more and more. There are more and more people that realize how what they thought was important, maybe money, career, is not that important, that they try to find something more fundamental, and they started to seek. There is more and more people that they see the connection between their inner reality and their outer one. There are people that are having, even without knowing anything about awakening, they're having a satori. You know, sometimes they get even scared. You know, they say, oh my God, I'm not inside my body. What am I? You know, so it's happening. And, you know, even if the word doesn't seem to go really well, you know, so, you know, there are many things, words, you know, ecology disaster and social injustice. There is an awareness around these things. We were not conscious that these things were not okay. You know, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 100 years ago, did human life counted so much as now? No, it counted less. Yeah. You know, like social, you know, inequalities were given for granted, you know, racism, or I don't know, economic, you know, exploitation of people. We are changing, we are evolving. And I love to think that in 100 years, maybe me and you are not going to be alive. Who knows? Maybe, you know, science is changing every day. But I hope that life is going to be, I don't know if it's better, but we're going to be more conscious of the importance of these things. And I think it is changing. So we are part of a wave of awakening that is happening all over the planet. Our job is to do our part. How I'm contributing to social justice. What is my contribution? Am I living from peace, or I am in constant conflict because my neighbor makes me angry, or my mom or my partner annoys me? Am I open to work on myself? Am I open to work on my self-separation? Am I open to work on my ego and to offer an embodied experience to everybody? If yes, our life will become full of meanings, because we will really give a contribution of compassion and love to the world and peace. It's very practical. It's really about us. You know, if we want to change the world, we have to change. And each and every one of us counts. We are not useless.
Yeah. That's such a wonderful message, isn't it, for everyone who's listening? That
I hope. Yeah, you count, you know, because think about how a person, let's say like Jesus or Buddha, you know, that were luminous example of awakening. Yeah, how much they change billions of life. Thousands of years later, they were alive, you know, and still the message of love and freedom is touching people. You know, if you change perspective, if you change your inner reality by awakening to what you really are, the people around you, they will feel it. Not even, maybe it's not that you become a messiah. It's not that you go around preaching, yeah? And teaching is not for everybody. There are specific skills that you need to have. Not the destiny of everybody. But, you know, if you live your life from peace and freedom, this changes the life of people around you in a very real way. And you can give a contribution to future generation and actual one of a life that is full of love. Otherwise, what's the sense of our life? Are we accumulating money or, you know, experiences or knowledge for what? When you know, when your time has come as a physical experience, your body will die. It's for sure. It's certain, right? What will you bring with you? You will not bring with you your money. You will not bring with you your knowledge. You will not bring with you your romance. You're not going to bring with you your kids or family. You're going to bring with you the love that you understood to be. That's it. And that is the impact you give to the world. So that should be our priority.
Yeah. I love that. Because often you hear people on a spiritual path who say things like, the world's an illusion, so I don't need to be involved in it. I never watch the news, or I'm not interested in anything that's happening. What's your perspective on that? As spiritually awake people living in this world, is there a place for enlightened action, for example?
Absolutely. I don't know if I would call it enlightened action, but I would say that when you wake up to what you really are, you are watching what is happening in the world as a direct consequence of the ignorance that is still present in you and everybody. So what do? You start cleaning your house. Yeah, you start cleaning your life. And then cleaning means that you wake up to the ignorance that is present in you, to the lies that you're still telling yourself. And by living a life that is more authentic, and this will cost you, will cost, your ego, the images that you collected of you and the world. By that offering on the altar of truth, your contribution is going to be luminous. I read the news, I don't hide, under the sand. And what I see, I remain open to experience in my heart the pain or the sadness. And even for a second, if I read an article, I'm conscious of what is happening in me as I read it. And I offer inside myself compassion and forgiveness, if I can, to those who have been moving from ignorance. I can do two things. I can judge, and I can remain separated, or I can remain open to what I feel when I read something or watch something, and then say, okay, that's what happens when we act from ignorance. How do I, how much of that do I do in my life? Am I ignorant to any degree in my life like that? How can I change that? And your vibration, your contribution is going to be different. If we point fingers, nothing is going to change. That finger has to be pointed towards ourselves. It doesn't mean that we have to feel guilty or, judge ourselves. It's not what I'm saying. But we have to become responsible for our life. If we want other people to be responsible for us, we're never to grow up. We need to grow up spiritually. To grow up, to become adult spiritually, we need to say, okay, I am responsible for what I see in my own world. I wake up to the fact that if I live from ignorance, if I live from separation, certain things will keep on appearing. I can blame others, or I can take the responsibility. And it doesn't mean that you become a victim of other people because you take the responsibility by any means. But it means that you take the responsibility of what you feel. And you start to become more clear about it and to respond to that instead of to react.
Yeah, I love that, that we don't just wake up, but we need to grow up spiritually. And I think that's a good opportunity for us now to speak about the masterclasses that you're going to be offering for us in March, which are called From Fear to Joy. So would you like to talk a little bit about that, why you chose that particular topic to teach on, and what people might expect from joining us in March?
Well, I feel everybody know what fears is, and everybody wants joy or aim to live from joy. So these are two very powerful words. What is fear? Fear is, if we feel it perceptually, is a contraction. I am afraid. I close myself. I separate. I'm joyful. I'm open. I'm exposed. I'm vulnerable also. I'm radiant. I'm abundant. I'm shining this love. Yeah. So we are born in joy when we are very, very small babies. And we grow up in an environment of fear, and we learn to build up life based on fear. So the work I propose on people is from the recognition of our true nature, silence, awareness, to become conscious of the fear that still dominates our life and to challenge it and to undo it. And to discover that that fear of separation is our joy that became frozen around the sense to be a person, around the sense to be a separate entity. So the work is going to be very experiential, very simple, I hope, to recognize the fears in our life and to learn to stay with them and to melt them into understanding and compassion. So it's an invitation to look at fear not as something to avoid, but to understand the lie of separation that is inside it and to dissolve it in our heart. The heart is going to be our playground, is going to be our altar, is going to be the place, the sacred place where we are going to operate. And by letting meditation become everyday living and not just a moment in our life, that alchemical transformation from fear to joy will happen very naturally.
So what do you mean by letting meditation become our life rather than just sitting on the cushion?
Yeah, because, we think that meditation is a moment in which we, close our eyes and take time for ourselves. But that's a practice. It's not, meditation is you, awareness, being aware of you as awareness. And if that becomes your everyday life, then very naturally, the contraction of the personality that is based on fear will dissolve into our real nature, that is joy, Ananda.
Thank you.
Thank you, my dear.
Yeah. Oh,
and anybody is welcome, even people that have never done anything in their life. I'm going to teach from scratch. So anybody's invited.
Yeah. Thank you so much. This is just going to be such a wonderful opportunity to be with a teacher and to be guided into, as you said, waking up and growing up spiritually. So I'm very much personally looking forward to spending the time with you, and there will be more details of Shakti's class in the show notes for this podcast, so do check that out, and we hope to see you. The first session, they're live sessions. You'll be taking questions as well, Shakti. Will you be open for questions? First session is on the 13th of March, and it's at 3 to 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. So we hope to see you there. But thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today, Shakti, and thank you especially for giving us that direct pointing to the truth of who we are. It's been lovely speaking to you, and I look forward to seeing you again in March. Thanks.
Thank
everyone.
you, Susan. Bye to everybody. Thank you.